Hello everybody. Hopefully you will have noticed that we've been conspicuous by our absence. However, I'm sure you haven't, because nobody's left any comments to say what the heck's happened to you. But hey ho. Well, I'm going to tell you why anyway, whether you want to know or not. I'm guessing if you're watching, you're sort of half interested. Now then, my lovely van, the first vehicle that I have ever named and called it by its name. Poppy the Jalopy. I've loved this van in the very short time that we've had it. I've loved doing her up. I do love a project. You all know I love a project. I've loved spending time in her, in the garden, mainly because it's been too hot upstairs and it's nice and cool out here. So yeah, I've slept in here when I haven't even been away. I had an absolutely amazing time on my tour of Welsh Wales, right up until I was recovered back home. Slight breaking down going on. Even after that, I was still keen to keep going. Yeah, we'd spent a lot of money already, but we were in so deep, we just thought we may as well carry on. Lots of few more £100. You couldn't get a new van for a few more £100, so it was just a case of keep going, keep going, keep going. Eventually, everything will be sorted. What we needed this time was the power steering fluid needed to be replaced, and the leak that was causing it to disappear needed fixing. And it turns out the front brake calipers are shot to bits. After spending a huge amount of money on the front brake discs, the brake pads, the rear drums and the rear pads, the rear shoes, we then needed calipers. So we gingerly ambled round to our garage that we use, left her there and waited for a phone call. We got the phone call. They basically said that the parts were very rare, and if we could get hold of them, they were very expensive. And when they told us how expensive, if I was a crying type, I really could have cried. Even if we could afford them, we would be without a camper van until they arrived. We had no idea how long that was going to be, and we also have no idea how long Steve's going to be here. So having a camper van right now is pretty essential. So it was essentially the end of the line for Poppy. I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty gutted about it. Anywho's, I started looking at auction sites so that we could maybe pass her on to somebody who had a little bit more time to wait around for parts, and basically just to keep her going so that it just wasn't, so that it wasn't the end of her life. Also, that would mean that we hadn't lost all of the absolutely enormous amount of money that we spent on her. Jolly good idea, I hear you say. Well, we thought it was a jolly good idea until I went online to fill in the form that you have to do for when you put your vehicle up for auction, and it said they needed certain documents. Obviously they're going to need documents, but they wanted the V5. So I asked Steve, can I have the V5 please? And he looked and he pulled out a V5 and he said, oh. And I said, oh, what do you mean? Oh. He said, this is not our V5. This is a V5 of the previous owner. I said, well, where's our V5? He says, I don't remember us ever being sent it. So it turns out that the dealer who sold us this either A, never sent the bloody thing off, or B, it was sent and it was never turned up at the DVLA. So we were all in a bit of a panic, and Steve was saying, but it needs to be taxed anyway, whatever happens it needs to be taxed. And I says, well, tax it. He says, well, I can't without the V5. I said, well, how did you tax it for us to drive it home? How did you get the last 6 months tax? And he was like, well, I just did it online. I just did it over the phone. I said, well, just do it over the phone. And he got all panicky, because he does get panicky and he gets stressed and he doesn't think straight. And I said, just phone them up and find out. Anyway, phoned them up and it was okay to tax. It cost us £185 for 6 months. So we were going to have to fill out this form and send it off, and it'd be about 4 weeks before we could get it, which meant we couldn't sell it for 4 weeks, because you can't really sell it on without a V5. Well, I think you probably could, but Steve likes to do everything completely by the book, so he wasn't going to even entertain saying to somebody, we never got the V5 through, but here's the old V5, you can apply for the V5. And he just didn't want to get into that. He doesn't like that sort of thing. So we was in a bit of a panic. While all this had been going on, we'd been looking at the possibility of other vans that maybe we could get with a loan. So Steve would get half of the loan, of the price of the van, and I would get the other half. And we'd seen a nice little high top T4 Volkswagen Campervan, and we were quite interested. So we arranged to go and see it, because it turns out that at the weekend we're going away to an Elvis convention, and it turns out that the Elvis convention is about halfway to where this van is. So we decided that on the Saturday after breakfast, because there's not really much to do apart from going and looking around town again, we decided that we'd drive down and have a look at this camper van. It's a rare thing, but we both agreed that we liked it. Normally I'm going, no, that's rubbish, I don't want that, I don't want this, I don't want that. And then he's going, oh yeah, but what about this, what about that? And if I like the van, I'm going, well, we can change that, we can do this and we could do that and we could do the other. And Steve's not totally on board with that, because if it's anything like dead practical, it means he's gonna have to do the work. So now I'm getting quite excited, because this T4 really was quite nice. And then Steve says to me, we can't have 2 vans taxed and insured at the same time. And I'm like, why are you even agreeing to go and look at it then? So a heated discussion ensued, and the upshot was that the only option, well, as far as Steve could see, was to scrap Poppy. So we didn't have to. I'm getting quite upset thinking about it. I know I'm smiling, but I am quite upset about it. I thought a good option would be just keep her. At the end of the day, she's a fully kitted out living space. If somebody comes to see us, we've got nowhere to put anybody up in the house. But he was like, oh, well, where are we going to park the other van? We can't leave it on the road. I'm like, well, it's sort of where people keep their vehicles. Looked up and down the road. Look, everybody's parked on the road. No, he wasn't having any of it. So we both went online and tried to get quotes for the scrap value. And I couldn't believe how little you get for such a hefty van. We got offered between £99 and £150. And That was about the closest I came to crying. One day, the wounds may have healed and I might be able to tell you exactly how much we spent on this van. But at the moment, I can't say it out loud, because if I say it out loud, I really will start crying. It's not only that we spent so much money on the van. It's because I really fucking love this van. Apart from all the things that went wrong and stuff. Obviously, I wasn't happy about the breaking down, but this van, the feel of the van, the atmosphere, this van really, really suited me. And I don't want her to die. Now, I'm not a soppy twat when it comes to material possessions. I don't really find it difficult to let things go. There are some things that I really like that I will keep for ages before I get to the point where I'm like, come on, it's just taking up space, you don't use it, you don't need it. And once I've come to that decision, then it's gone. I don't lose any sleep over it. But I adore this van, and I'm absolutely gutted that she's going to die. So anyway, fast forward 10 minutes and I get a phone call from one of the people I've rung up and said, "Oh, hang on a minute, let's not be so hasty. Campervans are quite popular. I'm sure we can do something better for you. Why don't you send me a load of photos of it, and I'll get back to you. I know we've got buyers for campervans, and I'll get back to you and see what I can do for you." And I was like, "Oh, that's good, because then maybe we wouldn't have lost quite as much money." Well, technically, if they'd give us a fiver, we wouldn't have lost quite as much money, because going to the scrappy, after buying that 6 months bloody tax, we would have lost every single penny that we've put into it. So I said, all right then, I'll take a load of pictures and I'll send them off to you. So I took a load of pictures and I sent them off. And then Steve comes to me and has got somebody on the phone. He says, "This is a scrappy that I phoned up. They're offering us £1,035 for it." And I went, "Okay, so that's an option, but we'll just wait until this guy gets back to me and see if we can get any more." And of course, the guy on the other end of the phone gives Steve the old salesman bollocks. Like, "Oh, that might not be as much as that if you phone back tomorrow." And Steve goes, "Well, we'll just have to take that on the chin, won't we?" So that was that. Sent them off. And now I'm just waiting to hear from them. Steve has managed to get a loan for about 2/3 of the price of this T4. I only have to get a loan for 1/3 and a bit more, just in case there's anything we want doing. Everybody wants to spend a bit of money and make a van their own. So I'd been approved for an incredibly large loan, because I thought that I was going to have to take the loan on board and take the responsibility for getting the new van. But I didn't need that much, so I phoned them up and asked them, I'd like to accept the loan, but could we reduce it? And they were, "Well, no, we've approved you for this loan, and the only way you can get out of this is to A, accept the whole loan and then immediately pay back what you don't need, which they have assured me was the best option, or refuse the loan and then reapply for what I wanted. But there was no guarantee that I was going to get it the second time I'd applied, and I thought, well, if I applied for this amount and you said yes, and now I only need this amount, why the fuck would you say no? So I think there was some way that they were going to make more money if I'd have done it the way they wanted me to. And I went, oh no, it's okay, I'll just cancel it and then I'll reapply. And now we wait. I am absolutely not for 1 second getting my hopes up that we can get a decent price for Poppy. This is the least that I want. A decent, roadworthy van. This is the best outcome. Getting a decent price for Poppy, considering what's the matter with her, and for her not to die. And now we wait. So I sat around at work all day waiting for these guys to phone me back, and I sent them a message saying, hey, are you interested in my van or not? A little while later I got a phone call, and this very chirpy chap on the end of the phone said, hi, I'm really sorry I didn't get back to you. I've been so busy. I've been busy trying to find like a really good deal for you. And I went, oh, that sounds promising. He says, yeah, he says, we've done really well actually. We've managed to get up to, somebody has offered us £250 for scrap. I won't tell you what I was thinking, but I just laughed out loud. Ha! Thank you, goodbye. Just put the phone down on him. Because I already knew that we had 1,035 coming from Steve's guy. So I spent my lunch break putting Poppy on Facebook Marketplace. And I texted Steve and said that we hadn't, those people were just talking nonsense. They weren't trying to get me the price for the van as a doer-upper. They were just bullshitting me. And I said, it looks like we'll probably have to go with your scrappy guy. So I put her on Facebook Marketplace for a reasonable amount of money. And it took me ages to do it. I had to put all the photographs on, did all the description, blah, blah, blah. I had to go back in 3 or 4 times to edit it because I realised that there was stuff that I hadn't told them. And then about 3 hours later, the Hobbit messages me and goes, right, that's it. I've been in contact with them. They're picking her up tomorrow. I may have a little tear. So we haven't lost all of our money. Which is a good thing, obviously. But we have lost Poppy, and Poppy is probably going to die. I know some people are going to think I'm a right soppy twat. I'm not like this. I'm not like this about anything. Easy come, easy go. Obviously I'm disappointed if I lose money. But this really was a brilliant van, and I hope when we get another van that I can say that that was the best thing that could have happened. That happened to me before, actually. One time before, I had an old Town Ace, and it was a bit rubbish on the brakes. It wasn't very fast, I used it as my van for my business. I used to do up furniture and sell second-hand furniture and do it up. And she did me really well. And then one day the head gasket blew. And I was really, really, really sad about that. But then a mate, as Steve said, we've got a Hi-Ace that we're trying to sell. You can have it if you want. It'll be £1,700. If you give us £500 down, we'll take £100 a month until you've paid for it. Well, we couldn't turn that down. That van was fucking brilliant. I was no longer sad about the Town Ace. It had really good brakes. It was a turbo diesel. It went like shit off a shovel. Pulled like a train. It never ever let us down. And that's the one, I might even start crying again, that we put in for Part X with Poppy. So that guy's made a lot of money out of us. He picked Poppy up at auction, which I guess he couldn't have paid more than a couple of grand, because why would he? He's a trader. He doesn't need to be paying a lot of money for vehicles. So he got however much he got out of us, as well as our van, which took £1,000 off the price. And you could easily get 2.5 for our van. So he made a lot of money out of us. Yeah, that van was bloody brilliant. When all this stuff started happening with Poppy, and we realised that the parts were so difficult to get, I realised that it would have been easier just to keep the Hi-Ace, get somebody to put a hardtop roof on, and just to get it done out. That's how much money we spent on Poppy. We could have done out a van and put a high top on for the same amount of money we spent on Poppy. Anyway, that's by the by. We have to let that one go. So I've been approved. I had to go. I went to my bank for a personal loan. I've been approved for my part of the money for the new van, and that's what I'm just hoping. I'm hoping when we get the new van, whether it be this T4 or not, that when I'm driving it around, I'll be like, oh my god, the brakes work. Oh my god, when I put my foot on the accelerator, it actually moves. Because Poppy was a jalopy. I mean, she was well slow. I didn't mind, because when I was going away in her twice, the adventure was part of it. I didn't need to be going fast. I didn't have to be anywhere at a specific time, which has never happened to me. I've never been able to just go ambling around and looking at things and looking at the scenery. I've never been able to do that. If you've seen my videos of my tour of Wales, I do mention quite a few times that I was annoyed at myself for not stopping to have a look at something, because previously every time I've been on a journey in a vehicle, it's because I've needed to get somewhere and my focus has been on beating the sat-nav. You know, the sat-nav says it's going to take you 4.5 hours to get to so and so, and you go, I don't fucking think so. And you see how you can tick down the hours and see how long it does take you to get there. Obviously there's speed cameras now, which we found out to our dismay, because we did go away for a week. Obviously we couldn't go in Poppy, so we had to go in the car and get bed and breakfast. But I did all the driving because it was a surprise for Steve. I wanted Steve to be surprised about where he was going every time he got there, and so that Steve could look at the scenery and everything. So we did end up going through Wales on our big tour. I've done some video of it, so I will put that together. And when we got back, we had a letter on the table, on the on the kitchen table, saying, but that was all. That was a bit of a downer at the end of it. So anyway, I can't even remember what I was talking about. I've stopped nearly crying now, so that's a good thing. Rambling has made me forget that I'm extremely distressed about having to say goodbye to Poppy. Well, technically I don't have to say goodbye to Poppy apart from when I leave now, because I'll be away to work in the morning and she ought to be gone by the time I get back. It's going to take me a couple. I'm always going to be sad because we put so much time and effort into it, and we made her beautiful, and we did loads of rearranging, and yeah, we put a lot of work in, we put a lot of money in, and I had her just about the way, well, I had her the way that I wanted her. I was so comfortable in here. Just so happy. It really was my happy place. Even if I wasn't going anywhere, even if I was just here in the garden, this was my happy place. So fingers crossed, I'll find another happy place in the shape of a small camper van. Oh, just in case you're wondering how much stuff fits in a tiny camper van, I'll show you. And to be fair, there's even some stuff that we'd already put away, so there's even more than that fits in a tiny camper van. You wouldn't believe how much goes in there. Anyway, that's it for now. I shall continue to be sad. We'll go and have a look at this other camper van, see how we get on. I'll let you know. Thanks for watching. Lots of love. Bye bye.